guys, welcome to Flix and Comix. I'm JoJo, and today I'm excited because this has been a long time coming. We're going to be doing a Tenet spoiler review / discussion, more so discussion. It's going to be very freeform, and you guys, I know we're living in a twilight world, but I do have a couple of friends here with me. So let's introduce Kavi from Books NYC. Hello, how's it going?
What's up, JoJo?
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me and explaining this movie to me.
Oh, we'll see. We'll see if I can do that. I don't know.
Actually, that's probably more
put
for
that
our
pressure
next.
On me.
Yeah, for our next guest, we'll probably be more.
And yeah, speaking of next guest, we got Carlito.
Heyo.
What is up, Carlito? Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. Nice intro, by the way. That was awesome.
What was the second part to? I mean, because we live in a twilight world is the line I remember, but then
there are no friends at dusk.
And there are no friends at dusk.
There are no friends at dusk. Yeah, that's right. We live in a twilight world is first. That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's been like 2 weeks since I've seen it. So.
That's the line that is repeated the most, I think, throughout the film. That's
what I noticed this past viewing too. So
and it is the first thing I wrote.
Nice.
It's on my page 1. It says,
nice.
"This is a test. We live in a twilight world." And then for some reason, I wrote, "His pulse is above 130," because I don't know if that meant anything, but like.
You never know what these things mean.
Who knows?
But yeah.
I know what that means.
All right, I can't wait for you.
All right, so I'm sure we all have questions to some things that I hope we can help each other out with. But this is, like I said, it's going to be freeform. I guess I just wanted to get into first and foremost, Nolan. How do you guys feel about Nolan? I think he's amazing, especially after watching this. I feel like he definitely breaks barriers, and I think that especially these days in film, we really need someone like that. You know, a lot of people complain about, oh, we don't have originality anymore. We have all these remakes, you know, and I just feel that Nolan is somebody that brings something new to the table like every time. So
for sure.
What are some of your guys' favorite Nolan films? If you've seen any of them, maybe not.
I mean, I like pretty much all the Nolan films to some degree. Like there's, you know, some that I hold on to more closely than others, like the Dark Knight trilogy, and of course, being a big Batman guy and a comic book guy. But Inception probably is up there for me for his non-Batman stuff. Like, personally, I think that's my personal favorite Nolan film outside of The Dark Knight. Although this one, you know, we'll get into this one. I mean, there's some parallels there, I think, where like with Inception, where like I don't necessarily know if I fully had my head wrapped around Inception the first viewing, and it may have taken me additional viewings to truly appreciate Inception to the degree that I, you know, now really love that film. So yeah, those are probably my favorites. Quickly, off the top of my head.
You, Carlito? And it's cool if you don't like Nolan, and this just happened to be a movie that you just wanted to talk about. I mean, that's cool too. But any standout movies of his that you like, Carlito?
I can't really think of any.
Oh, there's one right there.
I can't even think of any that are comic book related either.
There's, you know.
Oh wait,
that movie on your
The Dark Knight.
Yeah, turn around.
And you know, God, I gotta say, yeah, The Dark Knight. Inception was really good, although I didn't like it when I first saw it in the theater. So
I didn't either, actually.
That was like what, 11 years ago now. So
something like that.
But I've revisited a couple times. I definitely think there's deeper stuff going on, but I just don't feel that one as much as I feel Tenet. So, but that's not saying it's bad or that you're wrong if you love it.
Oh yeah, no.
I'm probably, not to skip ahead, but I'm probably the opposite of that. Wherein that, like,
and John.
I've
You
seen,
and John.
but I'm not in the hater column on Tenet necessarily. I didn't dislike the film, but if I had to choose between Tenet and Inception, I would put Inception above it.
Yeah.
For my personal taste.
Gotcha. Yeah, I just kind of want to see where you guys stand and stuff.
Yeah, man, it's all.
But
taste.
I haven't seen Memento in like a really long time. I haven't.
I love that movie.
So I would need to like really go back and do a deep Nolan catalog dive to like rank them all or whatnot. But
yeah.
They say that Prestige was awesome too.
Prestige, I haven't seen in a while either. So,
but I haven't seen Memento in. I mean, it's had to have been a decade now, but I'll have to watch that again.
That's a good.
Yeah, it's been at least 10 years since I've seen it.
Well, the main thing, I guess, is that it's always just like a head trip every time.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what he's said in I've seen some of his interviews where he's just like, I want to give the viewer an experience, more so than just them watching a movie. So
yeah,
that's kind of cool. And that's what I wanted to get into next is what did you guys feel like the first time you watched it and then the second time? Was it the same? Were you like, I hate this at first and then you liked it later, or you still hate it? Like, what's going on with you guys?
So I'll start because it's kind of an interesting journey with this movie, right? Like, it was supposed to come out to a wide theatrical audience. What, summer of 2020, early summer of 2020?
Yeah.
Or maybe was it even earlier than that, like March or something, and then it got pushed back a couple months. I don't remember.
You know what? You're right. Yeah,
because there was a lot of different steps to Tenet eventually being released, right, in theaters during a pandemic when theaters in LA and New York, affecting my ability to go see a movie in a theater, obviously. Right. So it was out in theaters, but not available to me to watch until it was available for digital download, which didn't happen until the fall or the holiday season. So I had all this time hearing about the debate behind the movie, sort of the mixed opinions on it from various sources and whatnot, without actually having the ability to watch it myself. And unfortunately for me, and I say unfortunately because I feel like Christopher Nolan's intention is for you to see it in the theater, right? Like it's supposed to
be an IMAX.
Yeah, exactly. And my first viewing was on a regular flat screen TV at home. Like, picture looks great and everything, and I've got a Bose sound system and everything. Nice. But there was some limitations, I think, because I was watching it like at regular volume on a TV at home, kind of in a subdued, relaxed environment, not with the sound and picture rumbling and blasting in my face and me experiencing it like a thrill ride, which is what I think is his intention. Especially like there's a lot of subtle things that Ludwig Göransson does in with the score to interplay off of what's going on in the scene and the sound effects and everything like that. So I'm very jealous of of anybody whose first experience seeing the film was in IMAX.
Same.
Now that it's open, now that theaters have been open for literally one day in New York City, I wasn't able to get tickets. I literally tried yesterday to get tickets to go see it before we did this show, and it's sold out. So maybe in a couple weeks, within a couple weeks, I can go actually see this movie in a theater, ideally IMAX. But my first viewing in that scenario of a at-home TV digital download, I was very confused. I gotta say, like, I don't know. I mean, I think my immediate reaction was I enjoyed watching it, but I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, after one viewing, there's no way anybody after that first viewing, like, could have
fully
understood. Yeah, could have asked me what happened and me having to explain it to somebody. It would have been impossible for me to do it. Like, I understood who the main characters were, we had the protagonist, we have Sator, we've got Kat, we've got Neil, we got Ives, and we got Priya. I think those are the main characters that off the top of my head that I can wrap my head around. And I felt like I sort of had an idea of where the story ended, but I didn't. But there was so much going on after that 1 hour mark. Like once you get past the first hour, there's so much going on as far as temporal pincer movements and like people going forward and backward. And then you learn that the whole movie essentially was a temporal pincer movement, I think. And I still don't even know what that actually means. So, so I guess my thoughts were is that I was feeling a little all over the place after my first viewing, and the things that I had heard about the movie was that it requires multiple viewings to really get your head around, and I couldn't agree with that statement more after my first viewing. So that's where I was after one viewing.
Kind of lost. But you still enjoyed.
I still enjoyed it, yeah. Especially the Ludwig Göransson score, the cinematography, the the acting. I thought was pretty solid. I wouldn't necessarily think that. I didn't necessarily feel super closely connected with the characters, and I hear that as a complaint thrown at the film all over from a lot of different people or a lot of different critics. But I didn't necessarily mind that. Like I wasn't really so focused on the fact that John David Washington's protagonist character didn't have an actual first and last name, which some people like get annoyed by that. And it's I didn't really care.
I didn't either.
And the fact that I didn't get to hear his whole childhood story of how he grew up and how he got to that moment, like, that matters to some people. It didn't necessarily matter to me. I was fine with the surface level information we got about the characters, how they interacted with each other, and therefore you learn about the characters based on their interactions with each other and how the plot unfolds. So I was fine with all that. And I think my rating after one viewing of this movie was maybe like a 6.5 to a 7 out of 10. After my second, a 7.5 out of 10. After my fourth, maybe somewhere between a 7.5 and an 8 out of 10. So like the more I watch it, the more I'm appreciating it, because I'm feeling like there are layers to this film that get unraveled upon multiple viewings and whatnot, which is a challenge. Like you don't want to go into a movie assuming that you need to watch it 6 times to truly get it. So I understand sort of the criticism of the film that, like I don't need to see a movie 6 times to have to understand it. Like I get that criticism.
Totally.
I don't necessarily think it's going to prevent me from trying to understand it, because I'm just curious and I'm attempting as a film fan to understand a more challenging movie in this case. And frankly, it's an excuse to hang out with you guys, because I know Carlito is a big advocate of the film. And I know you enjoy it as well. And you guys talking about it were the ones who first convinced me to watch it in the first place, because it was not available to me for so long. You guys both saw it in a different kind of theater environment, right? Drive through and IMAX, right? So really, like, you guys convinced me to take the plunge. Like I was gonna see it anyway, but would I have seen it 5 times in the last couple months if it weren't for you guys? I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe not.
Is that a good thing? I don't know.
I don't know.
You make the call. But as long as you're enjoying it, that's good.
But that was a pretty long-winded answer. But
no, it's exactly what I wanted to hear. So
that's perfect.
Carlito, why don't you tell us how you felt and what you kind of understood from the film the first time?
Well, first of all, I just want to say thanks to JoJo. I risked going out to the theater to see it because of her non-spoiler, like, I wouldn't call it a review, but it was like
so JoJo saw it first.
Video about it.
Yeah, I saw it at the drive-in. And I did a video. I don't have it linked, but you guys can find it on my channel, I'm sure. But I guess Carlito saw that, and then now he blames me all the time.
I was gonna wait until the pandemic was over, but then I was like, screw this, I'm gonna do it. So there was only like 2 other people in the whole theater at the IMAX theater, and we were like 50 feet apart from each other, so we were all good. But
that's cool.
So is there another timeline where you didn't see it, or
Probably.
And how do I access that timeline?
Either that or or Wanda trapped me in her
within the rules of Tenet.
Westview.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know you're a big fan, but was there at any point where you like, screw this while you were watching it?
No. I mean, there was points where I was like, what the what is going on? But there wasn't any. It's so. I'm really glad I saw it in IMAX. I feel lucky to have seen it in IMAX. A lot of people couldn't, or chose not to, and that's totally understandable with what was going on. But I really agree with what Kavi said. This movie was made for the theater experience, and IMAX in particular, I believe, because as soon as that music kicks in at the Opera House at the beginning, I was just like, whoa, what the? I was in, all in. Even if I didn't know what the hell was going on, I was in from that moment. And then up until the end with that song that hits at the credits, I was just like, holy crap.
Oh, it's the best.
Holy crap. It was awesome.
Yeah. Well, you have the whole orchestra tuning essentially, or kind of finding. And it's like part of the scene, but it's also part of the score. And
it's part of the score.
It's a brilliant opening sequence of the movie. I think that is the part. I think I've seen it 4 times. Front to back. I've seen it 4 times, but there are some scenes that I've seen probably 7 or 8 times. And I think that first 15, 12, I don't even know how long it is, 10 minutes, 12 minutes of the film is what I've seen more than anything else, because what you learn later when you finish watching it once, maybe twice or whatever, is that there's other things going on in that sequence that you're not aware of during your first watch, and that the same is to be said for multiple other scenes in the film that you don't know that there are other things going on your first watch that you do on your second, third, fourth, etc. watches. So it's got a lot of rewatchability to it because of that.
Definitely.
That's where
to be watched over and over.
That's where my score on movies gets inflated a little bit, because if it has a high rewatchability, I'll usually score it higher. Because even if a movie's super freaking awesome and good and it has a point to make and all that, but it's just I don't know if I want to go through that again. It'll score a little bit lower for me. So. And that's another thing that JoJo brought up, which I thought was key, was regardless of what you think of Nolan, or if you think I'm a fanboy or whatever, like John does, it's fine. But whatever you have to say about him, if you see one of his movies, you come out talking about it. And if
I wanted to emphasize that.
You talk about that, but then you talk to people that love it. And it's just, that's what makes me love his films even more, even if I don't enjoy it. Inception, I've watched that 3 times since I saw it in the theater, and I didn't really enjoy it in the theater, but I'm still watching it because I'm like, well, maybe I'm missing something here, what am I not seeing,
Yeah, totally. And I think there is something to be said about that, whether you like it or not, or whether you think it's bad. It doesn't necessarily mean it is bad. I mean, it's making people discuss things. It's making people think. And
it's making people talk with each other.
Exactly.
Well, I think there's a lot of different. I think there's a lot of different expectations, things involved in the overall, I think, audience reaction to this film. Not necessarily focusing so much on the critical stuff, but the general sort of audience reaction to the film is, I think because of the circumstances where most people weren't willing to go to the theater. A lot of people like myself didn't have access to go to the theater. So, you have a lot more people seeing it, on a small screen, quote unquote, just to generalize, whereas, I think had it come out under normal circumstances, I think more of the people who watched it at home and didn't quite get it, may have gotten it better in that in-person experience,
or at least enjoyed it more,
on the first viewing, in that in that kind of theater and IMAX and impactful you know, experiencing the film instead of just watching it. Like, as we'll go back to that sort of philosophical debate. Whereas, you know, because not all directors have that style, but Nolan does.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think when I first watched it, I was a little frustrated after, like, I understood the explanation because, you know, they give you the set of rules and everything, and then you just apply the rules to all the scenes after that.
Well, I love when that doctor lady is explaining the inversion, and that's only that they get to that in the first 15 minutes of the film. Like, after the whole Kiev Opera House sequence, he quickly, you know, takes a fake cyanide pill, right? Or whatever. Well, now we're getting into spoilers, guys. So if you haven't, don't want any spoilers.
It's been announced.
I was gonna say there's a banner. People are talking about it in the chat.
He wakes up. He wakes up, you know, on the ship or whatever, and then he learns about Tenet within like 2 minutes, right? He passed the test, and then boom, he's meeting this doctor and being explained, you know, inverted. I don't even know what
objects. Yeah, inverted objects that have a reversed entropy.
Reverse entropy, right? That's the word.
We perceive them as going backwards.
Right, and I love. There's this one line that she says right after she explains it, which I think kind of is like it's a metaphor for the entire film. And she says, "Don't try to understand it, feel it."
Yeah. Yes.
Like, okay.
That's like almost too on the nose, I think, for this movie, for Nolan, like, to the audience. Like, don't try to understand it, just feel it. You're either all in, or I can see why some people had a problem with it if they weren't all in on that. Like, if they're like stuck on that.
I was a little frustrated. I'm like, okay, I need to see this happening. But once you see it happening, it's just mind blowing, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God. And it's never seen that kind of reverse timeline, I guess, in film ever.
TiVo's like, I saw the eye over. I'm with you there, bro.
I can't even imagine seeing that film live. That'd be crazy.
I'm good.
Oh,
that's funny.
And he was like, and then she was like, "You're catching the bullets instead of shooting the bullets," and I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah. So you have to basically believe that you are doing these things for them to happen, and then yet you can't change what has.
But yet, what's happened.
Yeah, what's happened already happened. So it's not like other time travel movies, and that's the thing. This technically isn't time travel, but inadvertently it is because of the physics of it all.
Right.
So
there's plenty of moments within the plot that involve characters that have experienced an event, then entering a turnstile and inverting their, you know, experiences back to a previous moment of the plot where there are multiple versions of themselves, and therefore, but they're attempting to do something that will change the future, right? Or change the future timeline. Like,
well, like, I guess change
but
it,
but the way it's explained is that that's already happened.
It's already been done. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the part that confuses me the most. Like,
exactly
about the whole movie, because like even at the end of the movie that Neil says what he believes what's happened, but he's continuing to send himself back in the timeline.
Exactly.
You know?
So it's going forward in the timeline, but you have to go back in order to move forward.
Right. Which is
crazy.
Yeah.
But I love it.
I mean, it's kind of like it's almost like a college philosophy class or something. Like,
the first time I was like a little frustrated, but then once I started seeing everything play out, I was like, okay, because I'm a very visual person, obviously. So once I was seeing it all go down, like, this is nuts. And
I want to see the moment where Neil finds out that the protagonist likes Diet Coke, like.
Oh, I know.
You know, like,
it should have been an end credit or something.
Seriously, like that's driving me insane. But
you would have had to go out of this loop though to find that out. You can't do that. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think of that scientist lady being the one that actually
Oh,
That's
Carlito,
discovers-
can
that
you just
wasn't
like go into that theory?
that wasn't
just for all of
specified,
us?
right? That wasn't specified. That's
No.
just the theory, right?
That's a
Isn't
theory.
that crazy?
Yeah. Carlito, get into it.
So I don't even know how to explain it, but I'll try to read from my notes. You guys talk amongst yourselves real quick, and I'll find that.
Okay. So the second time I watched it, there were some questions that I had the first time, mainly about like how do these inverted objects affect what's around it. But then in the second viewing, I kind of listened more to the explanations. I was like, oh, okay, so it's not really affecting what's around it. The only reason we were seeing stuff go backwards was because of that. We were following the inverted object, so everything is backwards according to it, and vice versa. So it's like looking at an inverted photo or something, you know. It's kind of
Well, so if I'm understanding this correctly, Tenet as an organization was founded in the future by the protagonist. And because the scientist lady in the future discovers an algorithm, or did she created an algorithm? I'm not there. You know, all the details about the algorithm are a little bit unclear to me. I know that there are 9 pieces to the algorithm, and the algorithm is like the machine that will invert all of existence, right?
Exactly.
Right. If they, right.
And that'll, you know, end Earth, basically.
Right. And then Sator, who's the antagonist of the film, is the one that essentially is being given the keys to the algorithm, right?
So you know what it's like,
but not
Javi?
by Tenet, right? Or no,
you're gonna appreciate this.
By Tenet,
Javi, you're gonna appreciate this. This is like Alias, where they collect all the different artifacts. And when they put them together, it's gonna like destroy the world. That's basically what.
Spoiler alert! I have not seen Alias yet.
Oh. It's okay. None of that happens. Don't worry about it.
I'm sorry. I feel like I went on a tangent, but I think it's a logical conclusion that the woman who discovers the inversion thing later, as a function of Tenet kind of temporal pincing their way into the past. Then essentially recruits her as a younger version of herself without her knowing that she's the one that's responsible for this the whole time or whatever. I don't know, but I don't know that necessarily changes the plot either way, you know?
No. It's a closed loop.
Yeah, it's a cool like thing to think about. It's a cool thing to think about, just like it's a cool thing to think about Max possibly being Neil and being a
Neil, I'm telling you.
I could totally see that one.
I mean, when Carlito, so after my first viewing, when I was completely, mother effing confused, Carlito hits me with and it's crazy to think about that, that Max is Neil. I'm like or Cat's son is Neil, and I'm like, what the fuck did you just do to me?
Yeah, that's so funny.
Well, I gave you the mind blown emoji, so you should be okay with it, right?
Yeah, I was totally fine. No, but that once Carlito told me that, I was like, okay, I clearly this I'm not going to be able to get this with just one watch. Like this is gonna I need to go down the rabbit hole here, because that was the thing that turned me on to the theory rabbit hole of this movie on YouTube that other people have talked about.
I haven't gone down days in that hole.
Yeah, do yourself a favor. Don't do it unless you really want to just go mental a little. Because
Jojo, when you have like a week off and you have nothing else to do, just start.
Yeah,
just go ahead.
I don't know,
like never, but yeah. Dude, because I think it's possible to theorize yourself out of liking this movie, and that's the point I'm trying to make. Is that that like those guesses you know, by people, I think are logical and they make sense within the rules of Tenet, which are not necessarily the rules of physics. Okay, like I think they're taking advantage of some concepts in theoretical physics,
Right.
and applying movie magic to it and being like, okay, this could potentially be a thing or whatever. But
absolutely,
I saw a lot of physicists dogging it on YouTube. I have read and watched other videos where they're like, well, we don't know, so
yeah, I mean, I don't think there's really a way to prove it.
Nope. That's the benefit of being Nolan. He does it so that there's really no way for you to prove it either way, you know. So
willing suspension of disbelief.
But I think, going back to Neil for a second, I think Robert Pattinson as Neil is one of the standout, like, positive things about this movie, like good things, like good performances in this movie, that I really enjoyed. And I also really enjoyed that there was a lot of time spent in Mumbai, Delhi, somewhere I've been before in my life. Like, it's been a long time since I've been able to travel to India or whatever, but that's where my family's background's from. So it's cool to see an Indian city as like a major backdrop, major scene in like a big Hollywood Nolan film. So
that was really neat.
Yeah.
And
I think the Priya character to me is still a little misunderstood as to exactly how she fits into the whole thing.
That's where I'm a little like, I have questions, I guess.
Right.
I'm just not sure.
So is she, because at the end of the movie, she gets taken out essentially by the protagonist, right? Mm-hmm. To protect the timeline because she was gonna take out Kat, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So why was she taking out Kat in that moment? Is why I'm confused.
Yeah, either. That was the only part. I'm like, well, why was that?
Carlito, do you have an answer for that one? Because that.
I mean, I don't have an answer, but I have theories.
What's your theory, Carlito? Let's hear them.
Well, basically, that cat that goes to pick up Max is not the cat from the original timeline, obviously, because she's back in the old timeline.
Right.
So she's taking out because otherwise I think Priya sees it as a loose end, and like she said, she ties up loose ends or whatever, but otherwise if she had killed that cat, then I don't think Max would have ever grown up to be Neil, and then the whole world would have just been destroyed. So that's why the protagonist takes her out. That's my theory.
I like that theory.
So do you think so the version of the protagonist in the future that creates Tenet, he actually looks like an older person, right? It's not this young John David Washington version of the protagonist. It's him however many years later, right? Like
yeah,
we never get to see that version of the protagonist.
No, we don't.
No.
Okay. All right, cool. I got that.
That's for the sequel.
I was gonna say there was some tiny talk about a sequel to see what happens after with him, but
I'd be down.
I'm not. I don't know.
I don't need it, but I'd be down. I guess
it'd be cool. I mean, I'd be down, but Nolan doesn't like sequels, so it's probably not gonna happen.
How awesome was Michael Caine, by the way?
Oh my god,
he's like one scene, dude. I love him, man. Yeah,
he's awesome.
He's
awesome. The dynamic between the two when they had that scene.
Oh, dude,
dinner was amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, what did he say? Yeah, what did he say? He was like, "You British don't have a monopoly on snobbery," and then he was like, "Not a monopoly, but a controlling interest." Oh man, I love that one.
Good. Yeah. So
there's so much detail in the film, like. The fifth time I watched it before I did my chat with Dan from Comic Chop News was like I went through and I actually paused the screen on my big screen to look in the background for details. And I'm pretty sure I caught a couple things in the opera house.
Oh yeah,
people sitting in the opera that were in future events. And I'm just blown away by that.
That was Neil inverting that gunshot in
that was Neil,
in the opera house scene, right? That was the first time.
God, when you see the keychain. It's just like,
Yeah,
oh my
man.
god.
Because that was the first time you experience anything inverted in the film.
Right.
Is that during that scene. At the time, you don't know what to make of it. You're just like, okay, that's weird, and and the protagonist character is like, he's not part of our crew or whatever. Like that guy wasn't part of our
And
crew.
that's where the frustration came in with me at first, because I was like, all right, what are all these things they're not even explaining? They're just brushing by. And and then it all makes sense after.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so cool. There's another scene. One of my favorite scenes was, you see it twice from different perspectives, but the Freeport. Battle, the fight
man.
in that. Oh my god. Mind blowing again.
Yeah.
Just how they filmed that too. I was watching
the Norse freight plane or whatever.
Yes.
Dude. Yeah.
Insane.
I love all the practical effects. Love them.
It's awesome that they actually got like a huge plane for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about that scene? How about the scene the first time you see it when Neil says to the protagonist, when the protagonist is fighting himself, essentially, from that he's fighting himself as himself inverted, you know what I mean? Which you see later, right? So that all connects and comes back around and makes sense, kind of, in the timeline. But he says a line where he like stops him from essentially killing himself.
Right.
And he says, don't kill him. We need to know if we've been compromised. And every single time I've seen the film subsequently since then, I pause it on that scene and I pause it when he's saying that line, because he knows, right? Like,
right.
But you don't, like, the first time you watch it, you just think it's like, yeah, you know, that's what spies would do, you know, or whatever. Yeah. But it's almost like the whole timeline would have ended right there. Like,
exactly.
Like everything would have ended if he had killed himself there.
Right.
So that just blew my mind a little bit. Maybe I don't even fully understand it, but it doesn't matter. Every single time I've seen it, that scene has gotten better. So
yeah.
And just imagine, so like the future him is fighting the past him. He already knows all the moves he's gonna make. That's why they're like so deadlocked in the fight.
That's so cool.
It's so crazy to think about. It's just
And what's crazy is so he had the actors film it normally, but also backward. The choreography was backward too. It's just like,
yeah, I mean,
can't imagine being on
technically,
set.
Technically making this film, it's like unlike anything. So
it's a trendsetter, technically.
Yeah,
I believe
it is.
I even got John to agree with me on that, so I felt proud about that.
John and I were texting earlier, and he was like, "I could never get on a stream with Carlito and talk about Tenet. I think our friendship would be over after."
Oh my god!
I don't know why he says that.
I was like, okay.
Listen, all film is subjective.
I mean, I'm sure he's just joking.
Okay. I mean, I respect him, and I mean, his opinion's wrong, but you know, what are you gonna do about it?
I can see the criticisms, but they didn't really mean much to me.
Well, I thought it was smart that the turnstiles, you know, that's the mechanism in which you can start reversing your entropy, right? Or inverting your entropy is by walking through these turnstiles. And there's like a safety mechanism, or I'm not even sure what to call it. Like there was like a mirror mechanism where you can see, you're either supposed to see or not see yourself exiting before you enter, because if you don't see yourself exit before you enter, that means if you enter, you'll never come out or something like that, right? And that part made my head spin a little bit.
Actually, the scene where you see all that happen, when it's like half the room is red, half the room is blue, that part, which I'm glad they did, because that would have been really complicated just if it wasn't color coded like that.
Yes.
But it really helped. But yeah, that scene was a little complicated for me at first as well. And upon the second viewing, I was like, oh my god, again, it's
was that the scene where Kat gets hit by the inverted bullet. Yeah.
And how that all goes down, and then the when the car flips too, like that was pretty crazy.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, just that whole chase car scene was incredible too.
Right, crazy. And you got to experience that scene 2 different ways also, right? Yeah.
Yep. So yeah,
I think any scene that you experienced the first time as a viewer in forward motion that you get to experience for the second time as a viewer in reverse, inverted entropy or whatever is the most rewatchable, is the most, I guess, has the most rewatchability factor because more you notice more details every time.
Totally. And that's why it's rewarding, and I don't mind watching it over and over. It's just you see something new every time. It's like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, even last night.
I told John, regardless of what he thinks of it, that in the future, I think this movie is going to be one of those that people kind of revisit and look back on.
I think so.
After all this crap is over and stuff, and it may come back in theaters. I don't know.
Yeah, I hope it does.
Well, it is in New York. Because we haven't had theaters for freaking a year. So so I'm looking forward. I want to see it. I really do want to see it in the theater. Maybe I'll try next weekend, but
I hope you get to see it in the theater, Colby.
Yeah, man. I hope so.
It's just it's a totally different. I mean, it's fine watching it at home, but
if I do, I will only do IMAX. I won't accept anything less.
Yeah. I mean,
I will say
because that was the only option besides streaming.
Right.
But so I did that. But yeah, I would love to see it in IMAX. That'd be awesome.
Drive-in that would have been fine too, I think. But
it was pretty good there.
Better than at home for sure.
At home for first viewing was challenging.
Well, the other thing is they did a release on that in the 4K of 5.1 audio.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on.
Oh, really?
The IMAX sound was just so encompassing and awesome. They could have at least done a 7.1 or something, but 5.1 master, it's garbage. I even have my speakers cranked up here, and I don't know. It just it's all right, but that's not what it's meant to be.
Can we talk about Sator for a second? Because as far as villains goes, or antagonist goes, I thought what was his name? Andre Sator, right? Who was the actor again?
Branagh. Kenneth
Branagh. Yeah. So I got to give props to him because I thought he probably had one of the stronger, more meatier, characters performances in the movie. You genuinely disliked him, and which means he did a good job. And you were genuinely kind of thought that this guy was the madman that the future, for some reason, decided to give him god level powers for whatever reason. And I bought his.
I did too.
I bought him as a character the whole time. Like that whole dinner scene where the protagonist shows up and they're trying to make the whole plutonium deal, without even talking about the specifics of the deal. They had this whole kind of conversation that started with him kind of giving him some shit about is he sleeping with his wife, and and then him and then he comes back and he's what did he say? Then he mentions you like opera. And it was
poking at each other.
It was a big dick measuring contest.
Totally.
It was a good scene. I really like that scene. And then he's talking about cutting his balls off and stuffing it in his mouth. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And then they're like, let's go boating tomorrow. Let's go sailing.
I know, that was the part I was like, this doesn't make sense to me. I don't get. Are they friends? Are they not friends? What's going on here?
Well, they were trying to. I mean,
they're trying to cut the deal.
He was trying to play both sides, and then he was just trying to get his missing piece of the algorithm, which at the time, I think the protagonist just thought it was plutonium. It wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He wasn't aware at that point of the significance of that plutonium, right?
Yeah.
That's good that
Yeah.
he came across as a strong villain for you guys, because that was one
He
of the
did for me.
criticisms I saw
Really?
I saw
from
that
people
too.
watching at home. And
Yeah.
actually, I'll be honest, when I first watched it at home, I thought he kind of comes off a little corny, but I remembered in the theater, like, he nailed it. So
Yeah.
I think it's just that whole encompassing experience, probably. But
yeah, maybe. I mean, I thought he was pretty strong.
Same. I really liked him. I really liked Kat too.
I like Kat too.
Oh, she's awesome.
Great.
Yeah, I liked her.
Yeah, she's so smooth, sly. Like, I think she had, for me,
So
she had
tall.
the biggest
Very
character arc, I think.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yes. And like, people that, oh my God, this is what drove me nuts about John when I first talked to him about it, because he's saying, oh, there's no character depth and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my God. If you pay attention, like, crucially to Kat and to the
Kat,
protagonist,
especially.
and even Max.
I get that overall they don't focus on that.
Right. I mean, they don't go into the, the
like Javi said, I don't
and
need to know some of that stuff.
Right.
Anyways. There's so much else going on to appreciate.
Exactly.
And I think that's the thing. People are so used to the typical like Hollywood formula of screenwriting and all that.
Right.
And they forget that Nolan is not about that at all. So he does what he wants. He's on a tour, basically. Like, you can think of him like that. 'Cause it's like Tarantino, Tarantino messes with things in the way he wants, especially with time as well. So it's like, I think people are so used to watching these movies and needing that character development. But there's still, that being said, like you said, there's still, you see it in Kat, especially, I think. It's not like they totally did away with character development at all.
Right. Like, she gets to essentially, I mean, she gets to die, be resurrected, go from a victim to, the one who pretty much ends.
So badass.
Ends this guy. And she gets to also, without her realizing it necessarily, help save the world with her son.
Exactly.
Her son's the one that essentially saves the world, along with the protagonist in the future that we never get to meet. But you get to see him play out.
Oh my God!
You get to see him play.
I just got chills
with you.
I got goosebumps all over.
Yeah. So
Javi gets it.
Yeah. I get it. It just took a while to get there. Like there was no way I would be spitting out any of these angles or takes after the first viewing of the movie. Like I said,
me neither. No,
I was so dumbfounded. Like
but like, what's important is to like kind of talk it over with people too. Because I think that's what's awesome.
Yeah, what's happened has happened, and I don't know that whole grandfather paradox thing that was thrown in there kind of confused me a little bit.
That confused me in the first viewing too.
I was like, why are they talking about that? Like, I don't know. That still confused me a little bit.
I don't even like thinking about the grandfather paradox. It just makes my brain like implode.
Well, there was the grandfather paradox and there was the parallel worlds theory. Like those are they're like two concepts that were like thrown into there amidst the forward and inverted entropy concepts. So those are like two other things that kind of like threw me off like mentally a little bit as to what was happening. But I tried to like ignore that, I guess, and then move forward. But
yeah, I'll agree with that totally.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know how it applied. I
will say, like, I'm sorry. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Oh, go ahead.
I was just say like, I didn't really care for Kat the first time I watched it. I thought she was a little bit of a victim.
I agree. I didn't care for her.
But then as I've progressed in watching it and as time has gone by, her and Max's story, I think everybody talks about the protagonist and Neil, but like those two are I think the quintessential baseline for this movie. Like
Mhm.
they're just, I don't know. I get emotional every time she goes to like pick him up, and then Priya shows up and she's gonna like kill her, but then the protagonist comes in,
Right.
and you know,
Yeah,
I'm
the
just like,
last,
oh
the
man,
last,
just imagine if he hadn't
Posterity.
shown up.
yeah, the
Yeah.
last like 60 seconds or 90 seconds of the film kind of like, you know, they don't really tie everything up into like a pretty little bow or whatever,
No.
but they show you what like why the whole journey was like
Definitely
worth it or whatever, you know. And that's
Yeah.
what I think that's how I interpret that last like scene. Yeah.
I've also heard, you know, that it's like stupid that he doesn't have a name or whatever. But it's like,
Yeah,
think about,
who cares? You know,
think
that's
about
like
I don't.
the Man with No
Yeah.
Name. Like,
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Clint
Yeah.
Eastwood
Yeah.
movies. Those are
Yeah.
great.
Clint Eastwood, baby. But anyway, yeah.
I never even thought about
I
that.
agree.
What is his name in those movies? Now it's gonna bug me.
He's the Man with No Name.
He's the man with no name, yeah.
That.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, like, I just keep getting enjoyment out of it. Like, I can't,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Me
I
too.
can't
I'm
hate
gonna
on it.
actually, since I didn't get to rewatch it before this, after this discussion, I'm definitely gonna watch it tonight.
I know.
So.
I feel like watching it again
I
already.
I watched it literally just before this show, like for my fourth time. That was a front to beginning watch. Like I always say, like it's like approximately my fourth time because I've seen certain scenes more than that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or whatever. But I would say I have 4 actual front to beginning to end watches of the movie so far. And
Yeah.
I think
I
that's
have
like the
4
bare
other ones.
minimum to like kind of get it to the degree that I get it right now, which I don't even feel like is
Oh
100%.
yeah.
I
I'm
feel
pretty
like
sure I'm missing things.
I feel
here
like
and
it's like
there, for
75,
sure.
80% is
Yeah.
where I'm at
So-
right now, but who knows?
How many times have you seen it, Kavi?
4 times.
4 times.
Yeah.
Okay. JoJo?
4 as well.
And I've seen it 5, and I still feel like I'm missing stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
It's all good.
I mean, it's,
all good.
you know.
What do you guys think of the whole like posterity thing?
Yeah.
I didn't really understand that part. Really,
I mean,
like,
the voicemail?
because it was just, you know, he said he was posterity, and it's like I don't really, I don't know. I didn't quite grasp what he meant by that, but
Let me check my notes real quick.
yeah.
Well,
it was one of the like themes too.
well,
I guess.
posterity. I mean, it's posterity. The word is used in this film as a connection point with the future that invents this technology. In that the things that happened are in as that are part of the record, right? Like there's a connection, like there's a connection point between, you know, the car chase scene is part of posterity because it happened and is part of the record, right?
Oh, okay.
So like I think it's used in 2 different ways in the film, talking about the permanent record, so that, i.e., the future knows what's going on because of posterity, right? Like if you use your credit card today, or you send an email today to somebody, that
well, it's like with Sator and that burying of the time capsule thing.
Yeah,
I see.
But the protagonist uses the word posterity when he's explaining to Kat
That's what
why he's giving her the cell phone and the number to call and all of that, and he says posterity. And that's I agree with you. Like I'm a little bit like, what does that mean? A little bit. Like I was a little confused by him using posterity in that sequence.
Yeah.
The word posterity, but maybe I haven't watched the right YouTube theory video on that one, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I would guess maybe
I wasn't
just,
confused by it, but I can't explain why I wasn't confused by it.
Yeah, I mean, only on subsequent watches did I think about that line more and more. And I don't have an answer.
I want to say it's like doing the right thing, kind of.
Yeah.
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 Like them taking all of the pieces at the end. I forgot what they're called. The pieces to the
algorithm pieces.
Yeah, the algorithm.
And they were gonna all hide it in different timelines or different places or whatever.
Like, would that be posterity because they're
Yeah.
they have the
Yeah.
power, but they're not.
They're
Right.
just protecting the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas
It's like
he's
it's
protecting her.
continuity is like the way it's used in this
Mhm.
Yeah.
future context. Yeah.
Interesting.
But I'll tell you what, that ending when Neil talks to the protagonist on the field before he gets in the helicopter.
Right.
Oh, I get so cracked up every time. It kills me.
At which
It
part?
kills me.
Which part does your cracking up start?
All of it. Like
All of it.
when the protagonist finally realizes that
That he
Neil
started
isn't from that timeline. He's
Yeah,
from like
yeah.
the future. And like also when Neil says, or after the protagonist says something about a friendship or something, Neil says, "You have a future in the past, years ago for me, years from now for you."
Right.
And it's just like, oh my god.
Yeah,
I
and
just
he's
love
like,
it.
this is the end of a beautiful friendship for me.
Yeah.
The beginning
Yeah.
for you.
Beginning.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, when he tears
Yeah.
up, I start tearing up too. I'm like, ah. Yeah. I
And
did that
then
for a second.
and when he tells him that that he's the one that recruited Neil, like I think that was like one of my favorite reveals.
Haven't you figured it out yet?
Yeah, haven't you figured it out? Yeah.
But
I feel like he's talking to the viewer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
totally.
kind of.
Haven't you figured it out? Like, yeah,
He kind of is.
he is.
And then when he's talking about you're not going to go to London and check up on Kat, are you?
Oh yeah.
Like he knows that he's going to go.
Like even from afar.
Totally.
Yeah. And then my favorite
Towing
quote
with him.
is at the end. It's actually narration from Neil, I think, where he's like, "Many people saving the world from what might have been, even if you told them, they wouldn't care. No one cares about the bomb that didn't go off,
Right.
only about the one that did. It's the bomb that didn't go off, the danger that no one ever knew was real. That's the bomb with the power to change the world."
Chills.
That gives me chills. I love it. And that's what I think about is he's saving Neil's life right there and Kat's. And so they're able to protect the future and like change that loop in the past. Otherwise it would never happen. And humankind would probably be doomed. Who knows?
Yeah.
And it just, I get chills.
That's a great quote. I love that.
Yeah, that's the bomb with the power, with the real power to change the world is the final line of the movie. But it's John David Washington saying Robert Pattinson's line from before, right? Like I think in that.
No, that's Robert Pattinson doing the narration.
Is he? Oh, because I guess I didn't realize that because the screen is like zoomed in on the protagonist, so I didn't hear the voice change.
No, and I didn't notice that until the third time I watched it. I think because
I still never.
So much is going on, and you're just assuming that that's like either a random narrator or you're not really paying attention.
I just assumed it was him. It was
John David Washington.
Yeah, because he says the line right before it, or like.
But it's definitely Robert Pattinson if you watch it again. I've watched that ending so many times.
Yeah,
I think I watched just the last. I think it's like 15 minutes, like 4 or 5 times before I talked to Dan on his show about it.
Yeah, I think I've seen the first scene of the movie.
Then that opening scene. Oh
the
my
most
gosh.
out of any of the scenes. I probably watched the end a little bit more, but yeah.
I truly hope you get to see that in IMAX. It's so amazing.
Yeah, hopefully.
What's cool
so
is that
amazing.
In each act, it's not like other movies where it's like, oh, the best is like in the last act, or the climax. Mm-hmm. This is like there's an integral scene in every act. It's like it's just all entertaining. It's from beginning to end. It's just I did notice there are some slow parts in between those, but that's a lot of the exposition, a lot of them explaining like how things are going down and stuff. But
and a lot of beautiful cinematography also.
Yes. But overall it's worth those big moments,
Oh gosh. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to watch it tonight.
Definitely.
I think the character I understand their arc the least is Ives because he's
glad you brought that up.
He's he's like sporadically weaved into the third act, I feel. And the first two acts, he doesn't really have any sort of major impact on the story, or even really appears that I can remember. So I think if there's any one character's arc that I thought was sort of the least fleshed out or the least fulfilling, it's Ives for me, I guess. Because he's so integral to the third act, but he's kind of MIA elsewhere, you know. But
yeah,
it's not like his story didn't make sense. It's just I didn't think it was as
I agree with
strong.
you, definitely.
Yeah, I just didn't think it was as strong as everyone else's. So
now, if there's a sequel.
So that's funny you brought that up, because in the opera scene, when I paused it on the audience, pretty sure I saw Ives sitting in the crowd. So
okay, yeah, because I mean, I had a feeling that that's where he was.
Yeah,
it wasn't like obvious, I guess.
And also because I mean, we find out later that he's working with Neil, but then also there's a theory on the YouTube dark hole that Ives is actually Michael Caine, which I don't buy, but it's interesting.
I don't buy that. Yeah, I don't buy that.
Yeah.
Michael Crosby, you mean, like the character? Yeah.
Yeah.
I love how they just gave him essentially the same exact name. Like
right.
Michael Caine, Michael Crosby. Okay, cool. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we talked about most of it. Is there anything else that you guys want to add? Last minute, like, let's discuss this real quick. Questions?
I mean, I could go all day, but
yeah, I mean, it's one of those movies that you could kind of probably, you know, debate and talk about for forever and never agree on. If you feel strongly in one direction about it, and if you take somebody feels strongly in one direction about it, you take somebody feels strongly about it the other direction. I don't know that it's easy to necessarily sway those two opinions or whatever, but I feel like most people like I mean, I'm not in either of those camps. I'm in the middle on this one, and I'm in the middle with a little bit of a shift towards positive instead of, you know, and upon every single repeat viewing since then, a little bit more positive and a little bit more positive and a little bit more positive. And I think that's a sign that I like a film, but it's not necessarily one of my all-time favorites. You know what I mean? So like, that's kind of where I'm at with it. And I think every opinion on it is valid, and you know,
totally.
It's all good. If you didn't like it or whatever, who am I to take offense to that? So you know,
like it is what it is.
Yeah, it's an interesting piece of filmmaking for sure. Like, it's very unique. Like, you can't compare it to another movie at all. Like, there's no other movie that you could compare to it and be like, hey, if you like this movie, like I maybe at the very least, if you like prior Nolan, you have a better shot at liking this.
That's what I was gonna ask. Like,
you know?
do you guys like most of his movies? That's why I started off.
I do.
That.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You too? Yeah. So do I. So it's like, I guess maybe you're right. Like, maybe I went into it thinking like, oh, this is gonna be cool, and then that swayed me a little bit.
Yeah.
But not really, because I was telling you guys the first viewing, I was frustrated half the time. So
sure. Yeah. Me too.
You know?
And I honestly didn't know what to expect. And I was worried about the pandemic at the time. So like, I was like, well, I'm going to go see it because JoJo said it was awesome. So now I got to go see it. But whatever happens, happens. And it's just,
and I, you know, same way. I saw it because both you, Carlito, and JoJo said it was awesome. So I saw it. And then I think I hit both of you guys up on Instagram at the same time when I was right after I watched it the first time, and was like, I just watched it the first time.
What did you say? It was so funny.
I
don't know yet.
I'm gonna try to rewind all the way back to the beginning of that chat.
I think you said like, I don't know yet. We were like, did you like it? I don't know yet.
Hold on. I finally saw Tenet. This was on January 3rd. I finally saw Tenet last night, and I'm not sure if I'm still currently watching it in reverse or not. But I did enjoy it, even though I'm sure I didn't completely understand it. LOL. Thanks for the recommendation to you both. And that's when our group conversation started snowballing out of control.
Yeah, I'm glad we did this, though.
And ultimately got on this show. But
yes, I'm glad you watched it again. And and then I know me and Carlito we were like discussing that we should have a live at some point, and then and then we started talking about the movie itself.
I forgot. I've got like a whole list full of interesting facts from like YouTube videos that I didn't realize until I watched like the videos. But just one of them that's pretty cool is Robert Pattinson dyed his hair tips blonde for this role specifically. And I don't think they would have done that without a reason, because Max's hair is blonde.
Right.
Interesting.
So,
and Cat's obviously.
Yeah.
Well, Cat obviously is blonde.
Oh, that's so cool. So cool.
And then the other thing was, so his accent is like Cat's, and he speaks Estonian, which is really rare and hard. But that's what Sador speaks.
Right.
So. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Clues.
Max is Neil.
Max is Neil. Everybody heard it here.
Yeah. All right, guys. We good?
Yeah. That was fun.
Good.
Let us
know.
What's that?
JoJo rating. Yeah. We need a rating.
Oh.
Final rating.
Out of 10?
Sure.
Out of 10. Sure.
9.
Kavi.
That's strong. I'm gonna go 7.880. Like that's kind of like where I'm at. You know, maybe after I see it in IMAX and have that, maybe that'll be my 5th time. Is like I'm playing this thing in reverse entropy, guys, or inverted. And I'm doing this whole thing backwards. I watched it 9 months after it came out at home, and then a year after it came out, I'll watch it in the theater. So, maybe it'll be an 8.2 after that, but
I'm thinking 8.3. It'll be 8.3.
Yeah, but that's kind of where I'm at.
Maybe an 8.4.
Maybe an 8.4.
Comic Head. 8.4.
Maybe an 8.4. Hey, I'm an 84 baby. Also, I was born in 84.
Nice.
So,
yeah.
Carlito?
9.8.
9.8. White pages.
White pages.
9.8 white pages. Get on that, Matt.
Nice. Hell yeah.
So is it your favorite Nolan film, Carlito?
No.
Okay, so there's a 9.9 in there. There's a
10 out there.
There's a gem mint in there somewhere.
There's a gem mint out there somewhere.
There is, huh? For Nolan, not for any like.
For Nolan. Yeah.
Wow. All right. Trying to guess.
Probably couldn't guess it. I'm sure. Yeah.
I don't think it exists.
I don't know if I would say it's my favorite. It's tough because Memento is like, I don't know.
That's a good one. And
Memento's great.
I need to rewatch that.
I'm very partial to Inception. I enjoyed Interstellar, like not enough to have that giant movie poster on my wall, but I enjoyed it.
You know what? I'm gonna say Tenet is my favorite just because of the rewatchability, like Carlito was saying.
For Tenet?
Yeah.
For Tenet?
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard for me to not choose The Dark Knight. I mean, I love that movie. I love the Batman. I love the Batman.
I love that movie too.
I love his Batman trilogy. Like I even enjoy Dark Knight Rises, even though there's some reasons not to love it as much. But I like that whole trilogy. So, and Dark Knight was perfect. So for me, it's hard for me to choose a different one. But
no, Interstellar is definitely my favorite Nolan. But it's also my all-time favorite movie, so...
Yeah, I mean, I would assume so with that... And
John will appreciate this. It's because of all the feels, so...
I do enjoy the feels in Interstellar.
The feels are good.
Yeah, the feels are good.
Yeah, I gotta rewatch that. It's been a while.
I did see that one in the theater on opening weekend, or whatever.
So I saw an IMAX 4 times.
Nice.
I took a different person with me each time. It was so awesome.
Nice.
Just got better.
Well, it should be fun to go back to a theater again eventually at some point for me. So hopefully soon. But,
Yeah, I still haven't gone either. I've just gone to the drive-in and that's it.
the last time I was at a movie theater was literally a year ago this weekend for Bloodshot last year. Remember Bloodshot came out and then the pandemic hit, like closed everything like a week later. So yeah.
I haven't even seen that yet. Is it worth checking out? Or?
It was it was enjoyable. It's not gonna like earth shatter anybody.
Well, I love the comics. I love the comics.
Yeah,
I think
you'll enjoy it. Yeah, I think you'd enjoy it. I don't think it's like on the level of other comic book films, but it's entertaining. Yeah.
Yeah, I will agree with PJ. Dark Knight might be Nolan's best film, but it's not my personal favorite. It's my second favorite.
Right.
I would say it's my second.
Tenet would be third then.
After Tenet.
But Tenet was like 8th, and then now it's climbing up the list. So,
I think on my Nolan list, Tenet's probably like 5th or 6th, but it could creep up. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I think Inception is my 5th. But.
Yeah,
I think you, JoJo.
What
your favorite?
I'm gonna have to go with Tenet now because of the rewatchability, like you were saying.
Legit.
And I just think it really transcends like filmmaking right now. It really does.
Those were my exact words to John.
Oh yeah.
He didn't like that very much, but
I mean, you can't deny it. Like,
yeah, no, he didn't deny it. He just was like, maybe technically.
Yeah, I mean,
that's all he said.
Look, like I think I'm not trying to summarize his point, but I think his point is that it's a little self-indulgent, and I don't disagree. I think
it's a lot self-indulgent.
It's a very self-indulgent film. It knows that it's doing something different. It knows that it's doing it for the first time. And it knows that if you can't really wrap your head around that, then you're gonna get left behind on the ride. So
as someone that looks for that originality, that's like right up my alley, and it's something that I crave. So when I go and watch something like this, it's refreshing.
Right? It leaves the prior rules of filmmaking.
It's not your typical like put a stamp on it.
It doesn't follow the like normal.
Yeah, it challenges
approach.
So
Todd Christensen brought up a good point. I haven't
agree
seen
with
Insomnia in forever, but I don't remember. I don't know. It just kind of seemed like okay for me, but I need to rewatch that one too.
It's been a while since I've seen that and Memento. Like those have been. It's been a long time since I've seen those.
But yeah, second has to be Dark Knight because I'm a Batman girl all the way.
Yeah,
I love Joker's. Like still.
That's my number one. Inception is probably my number 2.
Inception.
Memento is probably my number 3. Then, number 4 spot is like kind of up for battle. Like, Tenet could squeeze in there. I think I have Interstellar in there right now, but yeah.
Kavi.
Yeah. Hey man, everybody has their own experience.
There's nothing wrong with it.
No, I'm just saying there's a little bit of work we need to do to get those bumped up.
I already went up from a 7 to an 8. Over
in my mind, an 8
over
really
4
good,
watches.
so.
I think that's a significant jump.
To me,
I thought you said
7.8.
Like I guess if it's
in that 8.0 range, whatever.
Round up. All right.
Yeah, if you want to round up, you're good.
Go by CGC scale.
There we go. Yeah, exactly. 8.0, solid 8.0, off white to white.
8.0 off. Not good enough for Matt, but good enough for most people.
I don't need white pages. We're good to go here.
I know. Anyways, all right. So yeah, that's where I stand.
And more importantly than any of that stuff we just said about Tenet, I had a fun time with JoJo and Carlito, my friends.
Yeah. You guys, whenever you want to talk about a certain movie, you know where to go.
Yes. There we go.
Yes.
Make this a regular thing, JoJo.
Yeah. Whenever you guys want. I know sometimes
only controversial movies.
We should. Yeah, that should be what the show is like. The divisive hour.
Well, Nolan's kind of a rebel in Hollywood, and I'm not gonna lie. I was born with rebel blood, so I kind of, I rebel against the norms of society sometimes. So
Nothing wrong with that.
that's what I like Nolan a lot for that. So
Yeah, definitely.
originality.
So
I
if you're
appreciate
watching
it.
this, Christopher Nolan, let us know.
Yeah,
What you thought, you know.
Yes,
I'll be
give
a hype
us a preview to the soundstage next time.
There you go.
screener for your next movie. I
A
mean,
screener.
Early
Any
draft
movie,
of Tenet 2 script. You know.
Yes.
I'm pretty low key normally, but if you need a hype man, I could definitely hype your films up for sure.
I mean, quick aside. Like, is there a publicly available script like for the film that would offer
I think so.
additional context? And
I think so. I've
I
seen
know.
some posts about that.
okay,
I'll have to dig them out.
because I know it took him a long ass time to complete the script, right? Like
over 10 years, I think.
right, over 10 years.
Whoa! See,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I'm sure that blueprint had a lot of information in it. You know.
Oh yeah.
So
That's crazy.
so
Anyways,
we'll track
thank
that
you
script
all.
down. Yeah.
Yes, thank you guys for joining. Copy, what do you got going on your channel?
Nada.
Not
No. What do I have? I've got on Monday. I've got the next Gotham. Speaking of Batman, I got the next Gotham City Chronicles episode on my channel with me, JP, who's my co-host on that show. But we'll have Man Cave as our guest on Monday night, and we're reading a whole bunch of Golden Age Batman stories, like
I started jumping into Golden Age.
Detective Comics 27 through 33. Detective Comics 38, which is the first Robin, and Batman 1, which is first Joker, obviously, and Joker and Catwoman, obviously. So we're reading all the earliest Batman stories available to our fingertips and talking about it on Monday night on my channel.
Heck yeah.
Yep.
Cool. And you,
Awesome.
Carlito, when are we going to see a video review?
Unless it's another movie review on your channel, I don't know. I don't think I have anything going on.
Just do them live like you're doing right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for sure.
I gotta have interesting people on. I can't keep people on live with just me. I mean, come on. Yeah.
Come on.
If you come on, I'll do a live.
There you go.
Sure. I mean, I love talking movies, so whenever. And you guys are always welcome, like I said, to jump on the divisive hour here. And yeah. We'll definitely have to do this again for the next divisive movie.
For sure.
So, yeah. Thank you guys. And thank you all for joining us.
You're unboxing something tomorrow, I hear.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Thanks for reminding me. So tomorrow I am going live at around 6 Pacific. And then I'm going to be unboxing my prize winnings. I was one of the winners for Cobby's 1K giveaway. So, yeah, that'll be fun.
Rigged.
And just quick spoiler alert, there's a little something extra in there.
Of course there is. Sweet.
Nothing crazy, though. Nothing crazy.
All right.
I swear.
Better be Batman related.
It might be.
I do have a package from Kenny as well. So, nice. Some awesome stuff coming your way tomorrow. But yeah, thank you guys. Thanks for joining us in the chat. What do you say? I cut the last part of this. I'm glad. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Gore, I'm glad you're here, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, Gore's.
What I wouldn't give to have him show up in a chat on a live stream of me talking about me.
Yeah,
that guy is a wealth of movie knowledge.
He is.
For sure.
He is.
It's general knowledge, not
general.
General, but.
But yeah, guys. All right. Well, we live in a twilight world. And what's the rest, guys?
Don't try to understand it. Feel it.
There are no friends at dusk.
There are no friends at dusk. Goodbye.